Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Aural. I'm a psychic medium and a medical intuitive, and I have been doing regular Q&As now, probably for the past month and a half, as I've been receiving a lot of questions on my videos on my YouTube channel. And so I've opened it up to some questions again for this week, and I think we have around 24 or 25 questions to go through. So hopefully I'll be able to go through them all. If not, I can split them up into 2 videos and we should go from there. I actually pulled a card for this week as well to see what the energies are around this card. Is the Star card. There we go. There's a Star card. And the Star card basically is a card that represents hope and healing and renewal, and it offers a sense of peace and clarity after a period of hardship. So I think it's a positive sign that we're actually basically hope and optimism and healing and peace. Hopefully we can start to move down that path. I know that a lot of things are happening around the world globally, but we'll see how we go. Let's get started with these questions. Starting with Cape Verde Island. Somebody's wanting to know about Cape Verde Island. And I've received a question about Cape Verde before, and they may not have heard my response. So Cape Verde Island, I'm just going to move that across. With Cape Verde, in terms of what you're really wanting to know, it's nothing specific here, but the last person who asked was about moving to Cape Verde. What I'm seeing about Cape Verde is, I saw this before and I see it again. I see that it's a place where it's kind of like very wealthy and very impoverished. And so if it's a great place for tourism, for people to, if you have money that you can go and live there quite comfortably, I feel it can be a place for you, a very maybe laid back place. I do see it maybe bustling in some places, but I feel it's got very highly impoverished areas, highly impoverished pockets. I don't feel it's a place that you can actually go and maybe expect to sort of go and economically go and earn a lot of income living there, unless you actually have income to sustain a lifestyle there. If you're expecting to go there and make money, I don't feel that that economy will work. But you know, these are my feelings on that. It would really be up to you to decide on how to move forward. I also feel the weather's actually a little volatile along the shorelines. I feel there's receding shorelines, and I feel they get a lot of adverse weather coming. They get pounded a little bit from weather coming in from the ocean. I don't know if it's the Indian Ocean or Pacific Ocean, but I know that the weather that's coming in, what I'm sensing, what I'm seeing here is there can be harsh weather along the shorelines, and I see it actually eroding along there. So, which I'm getting more wild weather is to come. So I hope this answered your question. On to the next question. Hi there. I don't know, but it came to my mind that European Union will expand and will be there for a long time as it benefits the immigrants and also to some extent locals well in terms of travel and work. So I'm not sure what the question is. If you think I should agree with that. So if the question is, will the European Union be expanding? I don't see that it will be expanding. And if it does, I see that there's going to be a problem with the European Union. I actually see some countries breaking away, although some countries are signing up to the European Union. I feel that there's going to be a change in leadership in different individual countries, and countries that don't necessarily want to be under the umbrella of the European Union. So I do actually see some countries perhaps I just got the European Union is going to collapse. And I did get an image, a little vision of a crash, and even the word crash. So, in terms of long term, I'm going to be doing a video for the European Union. Remember, these are mini readings, and so I've got 24, 25 questions, and I'm going to be answering them in small chunks and moving on. So I'll be doing a video specific to its European Union Part 2, and I'll see what comes up for that. That should come out soon as well. Okay, let's move on. Ireland is also under threat from Islamification. The current Irish government has essentially sold the country out. Many of the politicians are getting kickbacks under various schemes, funneling money into their own pockets and squeezing the Indigenous Irish out of housing, jobs, etc. Will Ireland be able to right the ship before the country is destroyed? Ireland will also have to shore up its northern regions, as many so-called asylum refugees are entering via the gateway via Northern Ireland. Would this help to unify the whole Ireland within the next decade? Thank you for sharing your insights. Okay, I actually feel that Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland actually will come back together. Now, the Republic of Ireland is under the European Union and Northern Ireland is under the UK. I do actually see Northern Ireland breaking away from the UK and reforming with the the Republic of Ireland. I'm also seeing, the Islamification that you're speaking about. A lot of countries are complaining about that. A lot of the borders were open, and a lot of the things that you're experiencing are being experienced in a lot of other countries that people are actually speaking about. But I know the UK particularly is experiencing a lot of this, and they really are struggling. So, also in saying that, I do actually feel the Ireland, the Republic, is actually a little bit more radical, or perhaps even more open to the ideas of climate change and open to the ideas of open borders. So I feel that they're going to be experiencing problems because the European Union actually has this across their board where they've got open borders. And I'm seeing some countries are starting to tighten their borders, but I'm seeing Republic of Ireland is a country who's probably not going to do it so quickly. In terms of reunification with Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Republic, I see that happening in the next 5 years, to be honest. But I feel there's going to be problems with the European Union per se. So, and both islands, both the Northern and the Republic, are going to actually are having economical problems and having immigration problems, are having housing crisis, and there are a lot of countries that are experiencing that. And I don't see anything changing for the next 5 to 6 years, but I do start to see, I feel it may actually get worse before it gets better, unfortunately. And again, I see that with a lot of countries. I actually feel what will be coming up for 2026, 2027 is going to be quite challenging for a lot of people in a lot of countries. But in terms of the next decade, I do see unification in the next decade, and I do see a change. But and I do see an improvement, but I'm actually seeing, I'm getting 5 and 6, 5 and 6, 5 and 6. So 5 and 6 years, I'm seeing that there's going to be perhaps a bit of hardship around that, struggle for some people with the circumstances in both islands. Okay. Hi, Laura. Can you please see whether Ben Habib or Nick Taccone will become the next Prime Minister of the UK? And is Nigel Farage genuine or just another croonie? Okay, I'm being told that Nigel Farage is gaining popularity and Nick Taccone is gaining popularity. I feel he's a bit more gung ho. I feel Ben Habib, and I feel the three of them, Farage, Habib, and Taccone, their policies are similar. But I feel Nick Taccone's, I feel he's a little bit more gung ho, very passionate and very gung ho. Um, and I feel Ben Habib, probably of the three, I feel probably would be the more sound voice. Um, I'm getting the more unifying voice. So I'm getting more of a positive feel. I feel people will respond. I feel the initial response is to Nick Taccone, Nigel Farage, but I feel the three of them aren't coming together. They're kind of each playing their own game type of thing, following their own path. Um, but they're not really coming together to unite for anything greater because I think they're all wanting the top dog role. Um, but of the three, I'm feeling Nigel Farage is genuine, but he's tainted because of some of the things that he's been through and experienced. And I feel like there's a hot and cold. There's not much middle ground. I feel Nick Taccone is really gung ho, um, very, very patriotic and very fiery. But I feel the more balanced voice is Ben Habib. But I feel that people are questioning he long term, potentially questioning his loyalty. Um, I'm getting as a staunch advocate for change. I'm not sure what change that is, but change of where things are at. I really feel um, that he will want to close the borders. Uh, and Nick Taccone will almost be a mini version of Trump, but probably a little bit more gung ho, where he's going to want to deport everyone. I don't see Nigel Farage becoming Prime Minister, to be honest. Not at this stage, anyway. I'm just getting damaged goods. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I feel there's a bit of maybe damage in his reputation that they're more likely to attack him than they would somebody like Ben Habib. And they may attempt to attack Nick. Um, I don't think he cares, to be honest. So, yeah. Okay, I hope that's answered your question. Okay. Uh, from Free Man Kathleen. Okay. You alluded to depopulation happening in the future. What is your idea of the cause? So I think you're making reference because this was after my last video where I mentioned that I don't see it like the depopulation that had come out where they're going to reduce it from 8 billion people down to 500 million people. I don't see that happening, but I feel depopulation has been in place for some time. And I've got to be mindful how I express this because I don't want to offend anybody, but this is my feeling of how I feel depopulation is actually going to occur and is to occur of our own making, if that makes sense. I feel because of the rise in communism and the objective of communism is to actually break down the nuclear family, to deconstruct it, to have separation, to bring brother against brother, race against race, and to cause division. Um, and some of the ideologies that have taken hold, where I've got to be mindful how I say this. So the way I see depopulation is where you've got a generation, one or two generations of not reproducing. And then you've got a very insanely young population and an insanely old population, but there's no balance in between because there's been a generation of one or two generations that have missed actually having families, having children. And if you have a look at the things that infertility is on the rise, people not wanting to have children, terminating children after birth, a lot of things in that regard of not procreating. In essence, I see the depopulation as in the lack of procreation, the lack of building of the nuclear family and having children and sustaining children into the future. And I think China had that problem. If we use China as an example, China had a one-child policy over a certain time, and they weren't permitted to have more than one child. And then they started to see that that was causing a problem because they were getting an aging population, but they weren't getting enough people coming up that were able to be young, strong, and working on military. And so they started to encourage people to have more children. And by that time, families weren't wanting more than one child. And it was very hard to correct that. And I think they're still sort of going through that. And so they have a very big population. But when you've got countries that have smaller populations, it's going to be felt more. And so, although it will be felt with them as well, because they have such a large population, if you've got one or two generations that are missing in terms of age gaps, yeah. So that's how I see things like that happening. And you will see the results of that further down the track, rather than just coming out and annihilating everybody through a nuclear war. It's actually very passive. It's very undermining. It gets into the psyche of the way people, it introduces an ideology that, yeah, I hope that's answered your question without offending too many people. Okay. Hey, Laura, I tried to relocate to Europe, especially Hungary, twice, but with rejection. Only 2023 and 2024. What should I do? Which place will be better for me at the moment? UAE and Qatar or any other? Thank you. I feel Hungary is going to be very difficult to get into. I feel they're very strict when it comes to migration as a whole. I feel they're really wanting to preserve their culture. And I feel they've received, I think I remember reading they've received quite a bit of backlash from the European Union because they've not wanted to have open border policy. I feel it could be a good country to live in, but getting in there, yeah, it may be tough getting in there. Of the UAE and Qatar, I feel Qatar's a little bit volatile for my feeling. I feel UAE is probably, and I feel economically the UAE will be good as well. I feel UAE is a bit, even though Qatar can be wealthy, I feel UAE is a bit more stable. Hope that's answered your question. I just got Italy is good as well. Italy will be good. And they're going to be, Italy's going to start to get stronger, start to reject some of the more of these European Union policies. Greece will be a good place to be. Just watch for the backlash towards the UA leader, that female von something, Ursula von something. There's going to start being backlash because she's a bit of a warmonger and she's trying to push this war with Ukraine. People are wanting peace in the region, and there's been a bit of, they've discovered corruption in terms of the funding. So just that's going to cause more instability in the region. And the countries who are definitely standing against it, you're looking at Hungary, you're looking at Italy. Yeah, so the countries that are opposing the war are probably countries that are wanting to preserve their culture and history a little bit more at this time. Okay. Hi, Laura. Will European, Dutch for the Netherlands, and Italian for the Italians, culture and identity be preserved in the onslaught of immigrants who refuse to integrate? Will European countries retain their historical roots and pride and regain what we've lost in the past 20, 30, 40 years? I think I was alluding to that in the previous message. I feel one of the reasons why the European Union as a whole may begin to crumble is because it will be places like Italy wanting to preserve its culture. Dutch, I feel, is actually having quite a lot of problems, and I feel the government in the Netherlands is, their climate policies I'm getting is quite gung ho, and it's causing a problem. I feel the farmers there are rising, but there will the countries who actually, in order for the European Union to survive, is going to have to change the leadership. I do see that leadership change. I don't see Ursula lasting her full, because she was just re-elected, and I don't see her lasting her full term. But I don't necessarily see the next person who comes in. I feel there'll be similar policies. I feel there will be countries who will want to maintain their historical roots. And I feel, I've said this before, if what you have to look out for is how the United States is progressing and what's happening in the United States, it is quite clear that there is some kind of potential rise of communism happening. Not potential, but there is a rise in communism happening. Government officials have been corrupted. They have been supporting these policies at the detriment and the expense of their citizens. And this global one world policy is trying to take its tentacles and embed itself. And it has the potential to be like that if it does take hold for the next 1 to 200 years, is what I see, because it would be a global takeover. What's happening at the moment in the US is the current administration that's in there is very loathed because they are standing in the way of allowing that to happen. So if America doesn't fall, you won't see it happening globally. And it's already beginning to shift with the negotiations, the tariff negotiations, the negotiations that the Trump administration's having outside of the EU with other nations that normally wouldn't be the case, economic trade negotiations and so forth outside of its norm. And I do see that the imperialistic control that the UK and European Union has had is starting to weaken, but there's a lot of fight that's resisting this, and that will lead to conflict. It's inevitable. You're already seeing it in some form. Riots, rising, lone wolf attacks. There's more that's happening that way. If you actually go back, there were more terror attacks under Barack Obama than there were under Trump's first administration. And so when these socialistic policies start to take hold, you start to get rogue actors doing things like this. So historically, I feel that there will be enough people who are going to rise against this, but really, in order to answer this question, you really have to see what's happening in the US and what the US is actually working towards. And you've got to see past the rhetoric and past all of this Nazi bullshit type of thing. You know, Trump's a Nazi. They're doing cleansing. They're racist. That's all smoke and mirrors. Really, they're fighting an imperialistic hold of trade, economy, military, globally, and because it's infiltrated. It's infiltrated and it's come through a particular party line, perhaps because they were more easily to be corrupted. I really don't know. And yeah, I hope that answers your questions. But I don't feel that Europe will be lost. I believe that countries will be maintaining their history. It won't leave. There are too many people on the planet that would allow it to happen. And the more aware we become, the more we voice and protest, not stand up and protest, but like share our knowledge. And if you need to protest, then you protest in the right time, in the right way. But yeah, okay, I will move on. Don't want to get political when I'm doing these readings. Okay, I have been trying to relocate to Greece, been having blocks. Will I finally be able to be successful in April 2026? And will I be successful there and happy? I feel you will be successful, and I feel you will definitely have some teething problems in Greece. You'll actually feel like it's not actually like you set it out to be initially, and and you're going to have some teething problems, but I feel it will come good. It's not going to happen in the first half of the year for you, but I'm seeing from I'm getting the mid-cycle to the mid to later in the year. It is possible that something positive can come through for you from that. Don't give up on it. It can, if you really just have to look at what you can contribute to the country, why you're going and what you can contribute as in terms of how they're going to actually receive you. I feel they're wanting to actually, I feel like they're using some of those older policies that we used to do here in Australia, whether you fit these standards of either a point system or these standards as to why you're coming into the country and what you can contribute, and financially, will you be a drain on this resources? So I think they're the things that they're looking at. And if you can meet that criteria, I don't see that you're going to have a problem going there. But I feel there'll be a few hiccups before you get there, definitely. It won't be by April, but it won't be too late either. And also, too, when you get there, you're going to have to get you're going to have to really hustle and get yourself settled in there as well. So don't be disheartened if it doesn't settle for you straight away, because you've got to create this new life there, but it will. I can see it working well. I just feel you need to be cautious with your money over there. You don't want to be taken advantage of with your money over there. Don't want to be naive and ignorant. To do your due diligence and know what you're getting yourself into. Hope that's answered your question. Do you see any conflicts or wars in the area of Europe in the period of the 10 to 15 years? Will there be peace in the Balkans? You announced some problems with Serbia and Kosovo. Okay. There won't be anything, a full-on war like there was with Serbia, Kosovo before. I don't see that. I see that there are definitely tensions. There are more tensions that have been rising this year for some reason. And I feel it might expand in the region a little bit, but it's not going to be a full-on war like you had before. That's not going to happen. It will be squashed. But like I said to the other person, all these questions about the home countries, of how you're doing politically, how you're doing economically, to help you understand how you're going to do economically and where you fit in the global structure of things. We all need to sort of follow what's happening in the US and their policies. And then we need to look at what our countries are doing and where our obligations are for our country. Like, for example, in Australia, there's a very big obligation that they have towards the Paris Agreement for the climate accord, the climate change agreement. Is a very big commitment. And so there will be a big push to try to reach that. But in order to do that, they're going to need a lot of funding and infrastructure to do that. So you've really got to look at it, step outside yourself and look at it logically, where your country is economically. I'm not sure where you're from, but you are from Europe. So I don't see a full-on war breaking out between Kosovo and Serbia, but I do see conflict start to brew, and it will start to spread a little bit. I see that there will be racial tensions and there will be small conflict here and there, but it will actually, they're like spot fires that will be happening, and it will be able to be put out. Kosovo will gain its official independence because Serbia doesn't recognize it as an independent nation, and Kosovo will gain that, what they claim to be respect and independence. And so, yeah. But yeah, I'm getting there's clashes, to do with territory, and that's going to sort of linger on. They need somebody official to come in and really make decisions on that, but that won't be happening for a few years. Hope that's answered your question. Hi, Laura. What would World War III look like in practice and how long will it last? I personally feel World War III has already begun. It's not going to be like a World War II or a World War I. I've actually done a video on World War III. I feel it's already begun, and it actually hasn't reached its peak yet. And the peak will be where there's going to be almost like concurrent, not necessarily simultaneous, but concurrent conflicts happening as you're starting to see uprisings here, riots there, protests here. Some places there will be almost like civil war breaking out, and that is all part of trying to break down the structures of the existing to implement something new, and that new will either be communism or it will be democracy. And that's pretty much what it's about. And I see freedom and democracy prevail. There's just too many signs to show me otherwise, but it doesn't mean that there won't be conflict. There will be conflict, but I don't see it dragging out. I see when it happens, it will happen. It will be fiery. It will happen, and it will subdued. But it's going to come up to a crescendo because there's the midterms that are coming up, and these midterms in the US in 2026. There's going to be a lot that it's going to be a lot of stirring, a lot of to destabilize things. It's already starting, and it's already starting in our countries as well. Some more than others, and this is what World War III looks like to me, and it will probably, in total. I see around 2020, I see between, it will start to really rear its head first half of next year, leading into the midterms. I feel it's going to really start to. I feel that they're trying to instigate some kind of civil war. And depending on how the administration actually handles that, and it will depend on that, whatever happens there will depend on what happens globally as well, how that will affect us all globally. But I see from 2027, 2026, 2027 is going to be very volatile. Some places it will go into 2028, 2029. It will still be lingering. But I see from around 2030, 2032, there's going to be some major shifts happening globally. And what had started to entrench itself will start to break away. And this new wave will come forward, this new wave of consciousness, this new wave of seeing freedom, this breaking away of old structures and control is going to break away. But I see it lasting at least till 2030, 2032, before we really start to see some global changes, a little bit more stability. But full on World War III, I don't see happening. But there will be breakouts, if that makes sense. Okay. What is the future of Spain? Will it be divided by possible breakup of the country? To what extent could nuclear weapons be used in potential wars? And how will Spain be affected? I see Spain having its own little civil unrest, but I'm getting the word that it's they're going to kind of be cushioned. Um, I can see, I do see soldiers marching, but not into a world war. Um, I feel it's more a war within their own nation. I feel like there is an uprising happening there, and I feel there is communism rising in Spain. Um, and it may potentially split that country because I feel there's a party that's going to rear its head. But I feel that I've said it before if you have a look at my top 10 global predictions, part two, I believe it is, or part one. I mentioned Spain in there because I recall I said something that there's going to be a gentleman that's going to come through and he's going to be addressing the youth of the nation. And that's the voice to be listening to. At this stage, I'm not sure if he's going to be the communist voice or the voice of freedom and democracy, but there'll be somebody very influential, young, dark hair, very influential, raising their head. I feel wanting to break through the shackles, break through. So I'm getting the feeling of more against any rise of communism within the country. I don't see Spain being involved in any world war. I feel they are fairly cushioned. Hi, Laura. Do you see humanity developing new ways to produce sustainable and abundant energy? Yes. And I feel that there are people, really smart people, working on physics and working on things like that right now. And I do feel within the next 10 years, under 10 years, you're going to see something. Um, I'm getting the word remarkable come out. Um, yeah. I feel that they're looking at something that's powerful but clean. And I do feel that that will come out. The only concern that I have is the amount of what they believe to be clean. We're looking at a lot of electricity that's going to be needed, and electricity can be dirty. Electricity has a lot of power density, and it creates almost like a power grid around us. That's what I'm more concerned about long term, of basically creating a power grid around our globe of all of this electrical. I feel that's going to bring on more volcanic eruptions, more earthquakes, more destabilized earth movement. Okay. Hello, Laura. Would you be able to see what the future looks like for Alberta, Canada's Premier Danielle Smith? Her re-election is coming up in 2027. Will she be elected again? I just got yes. I'm wondering if she will run for Prime Minister of Canada. I just got yes again. If you can see who will be Canada's next Prime Minister, thank you and have a good day. I feel the next Prime Minister will be a male, though. Um, I feel it will be a male. And I feel she may actually I don't know if you get a deputy or something like that, but I feel she could potentially be involved in the cabinet some way. I feel she's a very strong voice. I feel she's a very smart woman. And I feel she has some very strong and smart visionary ideas about energy. I feel she's very strong minded is what I'm getting about her. Yeah. And you have a beautiful day too, Karen. Okay, next question. Hi, Laura. What do you see happening in the Canadian medical system, and when will it be updated? We have long wait times in ER hospital, visits up to 6-7 hours. It's happening a lot in a lot of countries. A lot of feedback that I'm getting is happening in a lot of countries, to be honest. And what's happening currently with Canada, you're going to start to see change after the next federal election. And it may take, I feel they're going to move swiftly when they come, the next people that come into the next government that comes into power, they're going to want to move swiftly. They're going to want to, I actually feel the next government that comes into power will be inspired by how quickly the Trump administration was very swift in putting out policies and creating momentum. And I feel that this next government that comes in will be actually for the people, and they will be looking at infrastructure and things like that and making changes fairly. I'm getting the word swift. They're looking at doing that. And I actually feel that that lady from Alberta, what was her name? Danielle Smith, may be a part of that, or she may be involved in somehow of that happening. So keep an eye on her moving forward. But I do feel there's going to be a male that will become Prime Minister. Hope this answered your question. Hi, Laura. This question is close to the heart. Will I get a different job? The environment that I'm in is very hostile and toxic. First thing I got, Rosie, was yes. You will. Hang in there. Don't give up hope. I feel that there is a female around you who is an actual troublemaker, but do not give hope. It will actually happen, and I'm getting it will happen sooner than you expect. What you need to do is don't let yourself get dragged into the toxic exchange. Keep yourself very professional. Don't get into any back and forth with anybody. Keep yourself focused, and keep yourself focused on what you want. And I feel there may be a job opportunity coming up for you within that company, perhaps, that you can actually get relocated deeper into maybe. I feel like you're kind of on the outskirts, so you could, whether that's like in some kind of branches or something, you can go more either into head office administrative type of roles that are more entrenched in the company, if that makes sense. That's all I'm being shown. But I feel there's an opportunity that may open up for you there within the actual company, but you've got to maintain a very positive and what you can actually bring to the role, and don't mention hostility and toxicity. That is just, you're above it. You're above it. Don't inhale it, and just keep on moving forward, and it will work for you. And if it doesn't work within the company, something sooner will come for you externally as well. Okay, what about Turkey? I see, I just got 3 earthquakes are going to hit Turkey, and 2 are going to be one's going to be massive and very devastating, and it's going to have a follow-up soon after. So 2 earthquakes close to each other, and there's going to be a third. And where I'm getting it on the map is I'm getting it on the west side of the map for a very big earthquake to happen. 2026, 2027, between 2026 and 2028, I see it precarious there for Turkey. I'm seeing that Turkey might end up having a bit of a financial crisis as well, and I feel that there may potentially be a leadership change in Turkey as well. Although I feel that even though I think he's your president or your prime minister is, what's his name? Erdogan. I don't know. I'm just getting change in policy. I don't know if that means change in government, but there's going to be some changes around him that's going to be happening. But I'm actually getting there's going to be an economic crisis, perhaps a little bit of an economic crash, and it may destabilize his position. And it may happen around the time of the earthquake. I'm seeing weather, not weather. The event that's going to happen there. I feel there may be a bit of a humanitarian crisis that will rise. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. What is your sense of why the US is going to invade Venezuela? I just got straight out because, okay, what I'm getting here is the current administration, the Trump administration, is making moves that are going to actually change the outcome for further down the track. And Venezuela, rather than communism taking hold, Trump is trying to break it down where it's actually taken hold. And they believe that the current president of Venezuela is illegitimate and is a dictator and is corrupt. And the Trump administration wants to create room for change and shift in that region of the world, particularly because there seems to be a lot of corruption in the Latin American side of the world, and Trump is wanting to actually start to have more negotiations with that side of the world and help to initiate leadership change in countries where they could be succeeding, but they're currently not, and to sort of break that communist hold that some of these countries have, and Venezuela is one of them. That's what I'm sensing would be the main motivator. Okay, what is happening in Ghana, located West Africa? Will there be some type of coup d'etat? I just got yes. But I'm getting the Ghana president. I don't feel he's a bad man. I don't really know who he is. I feel it's going to be more against him rather than led by him. So that's what I'm actually seeing. Wondering whether the question before that is Kenya. I'm wondering if I'm mixing up the energies there because I saw Kenya, William Ruto. So let me just read this one first. William Ruto in Canada, Kenya. Okay. With him, I see that he's portraying himself to be nice, but I feel there's a lot of corruption around him. And I just got he's going to be ousted. But there is a potential coup d'etat happening, will be happening in Ghana they're going to try to oust the current government. Yeah. And I don't see the government is, I don't see that it's bad. I could be wrong. So I'm not getting a lot about that. It's a little bit vague for me what's coming through. And maybe because I've got the two questions next to each other, I might be reading into one and mixing them. But I'm getting stronger for Kenya that the actual president there he will be ousted. And I do feel he smiles and he's nice. He presents himself nice, but he's corrupt and he's sneaky. So the next question, do you see current president being re-elected? He may not be re-elected, but I feel his government may be in Kenya. Yeah, I feel there's a lot of anarchy happening in Ghana, to be honest. There's a lot of confusion. I'm not getting any clarity. I feel there's an uprising happening and it's strong and they're trying to squash what's currently there. And right now, I can't get a sense of who's who because I feel there's a lot happening. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but I kind of read the two questions between. But feel free to ask it again, see if more clarity comes to me next time, just purely because there's a lot of questions to go through. Hi, Laura. My question is the Australian share market going to crash soon? Perhaps the remainder of 25 into 26 has been pretty rocky lately. It's not going to crash. It's going to be volatile. It won't crash. It won't crash. It's going to be a rise and then it will be a drop, but there won't be a crash. I feel gold's going to continue rising in 2026. The price of gold will continue to rise in 2026. Yeah. Will Japan and China engage in military conflict? I did a reading. What I'm not sure if it's the global predictions, the top 10 global predictions, and I mentioned that there would be a brief exchange between China and Japan. I see it on the water. I see an exchange of gunfire. I don't know whether I've spoke it or actually said it in slides, but I'm being shown that I'm just seeing them on the water, and there's a brief exchange. I see that there is a bit of conflict, but it's going to be put out quickly. And I feel there's going to be posturing. So more ships will come out to posture, but I feel that the conflict will be short-lived. Okay, hope that's answered your question. These Q&As are great. Is it possible to only do Mark Carney? If you're looking at, for me, doing a psychic profile on Mark Carney, I can do that. I did that on Justin Trudeau. I will do that. I've just got a few videos slides that I'm working on, and I'll add Mark Carney to that. So it's a few videos coming up beforehand, but I'm happy to work on Mark Carney because a few people are curious about him too. I've become curious about him. I feel he's underrated, but I feel he's sneaky as well. He presents himself to be a certain way, but I feel there's more to him that sort of needs to be spoken. Okay. Will I purchase or build my own home? Will I ever be able to retire and be a homeowner? I can actually see you building your own home, to be honest. And I do actually see you can become a homeowner. I actually feel though it's going to be more on a block of land that's out somewhere that's not going to be so expensive and that's out of the suburbs, more probably farmland or something. I see that can actually work for you. I see that there's a potential. I feel you've got to be looking at affordable areas that you can afford, but I do feel it's possible for you to do that. You will be able to retire being a homeowner, but potentially a mortgage owner as well. So, but just look at where you're actually looking for that to happen, because what I'm seeing is open space and green, like almost farmland. I feel that is possible if you'd be open to something like that. I do see that that's for you because I see a lot of green pasture, open space, a little bit more outside of the urban environment. I hope that's answered your question. Okay. Dear Laura, can you see what will happen with Croatia in the next few years? Things here aren't so good politically and economically, but safety, we still have safety. Do you see economical development or complete crash? We entered the Eurozone, unfortunately. I see the Eurozone. That is where you now basically completely in euro dollars. I'm getting that Croatia's doing good economically, to be honest. I'm getting that I'm getting this. Being shown GDP is going up, and I'm getting this, and inflation's going down. Economically, you're not too bad. I feel you're strong. And even if there were a problem, even though you've got euro dollar, for some reason I feel politically they've been able to manage the economy better. I'm not sure why you're seeing it different to how I'm seeing it. But I actually see that there will be more economical development rather than a crash, to be honest. And I feel that even if countries are dipping around them, I feel that Croatia is going to hold a little strong. I feel there's somebody smart in government when it comes to like the treasurer or something in terms of the team that they have. Um, I feel they're making smart investments and sound investments, but I'm not understanding why I'm getting something different to what you're saying here. So please enlighten me. Okay. But I'm actually getting positive, and I'm seeing it continue to be positive for you there in Croatia. Okay, is France going to have more riots soon, and will Emmanuel Macron resign before Christmas? It's funny, a lot of people are asking me, will this happen before Christmas? Will this happen before, will somebody resign or be ousted? I don't see anything happening before Christmas with Emmanuel Macron. And even if people stood up and insisted that he leave, I feel that he would be defiant and refuse to leave, to be honest. I feel that he has that air about him where he will refuse to surrender and give up that power position that he has. I feel he's going to be continue to be shamed, to be honest. And I feel he's going to be embarrassed. I don't see him lasting, but I don't see him being ousted either. So I feel you're stuck with him a little bit longer, but his popularity is plummeting. People are rising against him. They want change. I've mentioned this before, I do see a female taking over, but it won't be till the next election. They won't be getting rid of him, but he will be embarrassed. They will continue to embarrass him, and he will continue to embarrass himself leading up to that point. I feel he's going to leave a bad legacy for himself, a very distasteful legacy for himself. Okay, do you see the dictator, emperor, king, or president of the United Europe in maybe the near future, around 2035 to 2060? If you see him or her, would he or she be a good leader? I don't see a dictator. I feel in some nations, in some countries, is going to be a revival of royalty, of the presence of royalty and how they establish themselves within the country. They're no longer going to be some kind of figurehead, but I feel they're going to start to. I see that happening in Spain. I feel like there are some countries that will actually start to embrace more of that royal heritage, and that will sort of start to take a more prominent role within their countries. I feel there's going to be more patriotism and history rising in some of these countries. That I don't see an overall emperor. I don't see an overall king. I do see that European Union will fail with the way they've been running, but something different will rise from it. And it still may be called European Union, but it will be governed differently and it will be more beneficial. More beneficial for more, because I feel I feel that there are some places who are being disadvantaged by its current way of doing things in the European Union. Okay. What will dominate the financial future? Stable coins, public or private cryptos, CBDCs, some new tech not on the scene, a very diverse monetary world where they are all strong, giving humanity lots of monetary options. The CBDCs are central banking digital. I don't see everything going digital. I feel that there's going to be some hybrid coming out from, and it's going to rear its head. I feel there's some kind of currency being worked on or discussed, or something behind the scenes, that you're going to see something come forward, almost like a hybrid. I don't feel. I'm getting. It's interesting because you've got fiat currency. Everything used to be traded in gold before, and then they introduced fiat currency. I feel that is shifting in America, and how they want it to be across the globe, but they still need America to be strong. So they're going to work out something where they're kind of working between the two, some kind of fiat system as well as some kind of digital system, some kind of hybrid that's going to be very strong. Yeah, I do see private cryptos, but I'm feeling the governments will want to take a little bit of control because I feel those have the potential of crashing. They could be unstable as well. I don't really know what stable coins are. I don't know if they're a form of digital coin. Yeah, not sure if that's answered your question, but yeah. As the veil thins over the next few decades, do you see a major or new advantages spiritual seekers will be gaining en masse to thrive in this world, as opposed to stubborn people who refuse to evolve and don't gain the same advantages? It's an interesting question. Um, Firstly, I'd like to say we are all spiritual. We are all born psychic and we're all born mediums. Just some of us are tuned into that station, probably bit more than others. It's just like, somebody who can just pick up a football and play really well versus somebody who can become good with practice. And what I'm finding is um, people are now becoming more conscious of that and wanting to connect more to that side. And there are more people coming forward and talking about predictions, global predictions, bringing more awareness. That's happening more. That's good. That's good. That means the message is getting out there and people, are following those and wanting to see that for themselves. The old is breaking down and we are ascending into a new form of consciousness. It's going to be inevitable that the people who are stubborn into the old ways will eventually become obsolete because just through evolution, as somebody ages and they die off and a new generation of thought and ideology come through. So that will actually happen. And I do see spirituality as a whole being lifted globally. More people are connected to it. Um, yeah. And also, too, if you want to talk about spiritual journey, the people who are stubborn, who are refusing to evolve, that's their spiritual journey as well. I don't think we should really judge them. I think we should be very forgiving. But there is a lot of healing that needs to be happening in the world. And sometimes things that actually come to a big focal point and that build up will eventually force a hand in change. So I do see the world changing. I do see the world evolving, a new breed of human developing with all the technology that's kind of being used as well. That's sort of changing the way our nervous system actually reacts to our environment. I do see that happening as well. So I'm going to just go back to that last question. My feelings. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you. A kind of personal question. I have been facing family problems since my childhood, and I now live with my elder brother at my parents' house. Sister isn't in direct contact. Mum passed away in 2014 and dad in 1993. I'm waiting for the inheritance shared from parents. Brother is totally dependent on me, and sister is out of communication. If I can ask you to be a little bit more specific in what you're really wanting to ask, I may be able to help with the response. But I feel you're just making a general statement. So I want to be a little bit careful in how I respond here because it's a sensitive topic. And I'm sorry that you've actually gone through this and experienced this. But I'm trying to understand what exactly is it that you're needing to know, because it's been some years since your mum and dad have passed, but you're still waiting for the inheritance. So I feel there's more to the story. If you're wanting a more personal reading, please feel free to reach out. But if you're wanting a specific question, I'm happy for you to just put that question up, and you can either wait for next round, or if I'm able to do it beforehand, I can respond directly on the page. Okay, thank you everyone for listening. God bless. Until next time. Bye for now.